Good evening and welcome to Logistical Nightmare. Round 2 takes us to Brands Hatch of this latest championship. I'm Tom Kenton, the commentary box. Apologies for the delay in the start of coverage. We have joined for the final minutes of qualifying, where Popcorn is fastest at the moment as he makes his way down towards the start-finish line. And this lap time sees him not improving on this occasion, and so he stays only half a tenth clear of Jazz in second place. And then we've got Checo in third in the Ferrari there. And then we've got Clay and then Bass in fifth. Danzi over the line in third place. Did very, very well last week, coming out on top as the race winner. So let us know how you are, folks, by getting involved in the as Jazz comes round towards clearways, aiming for pole position. He's got another shot at it after he crosses over the line. In the appalling conditions we have at Brands Hatch today, and Jazz over the line to go to provisional pole. Popcorn won't beat that because he's in the pits, and there is Dancy, who's in third place, aiming to take that away from him. So the checker flag is out, and I think Dancy has backed off the pace, so he's not going to be going any quicker. Bass has just come into the pits. Armian is out on track. It doesn't look as though he's going that quick. And I don't think Defiant's going quick either. So the session concludes with Jazz on pole ahead of Popcorn, with Danzy in third place, and there's Checo, Clay, Bass, Dave, and McSandy. McSandy not around last week. So we're
we have some wet conditions. Remember that curves are slippery and watch your braking distance.
So Jazz will lead the field on the formation that 15 drivers involved tonight. So today's round 2 of this 7-round championship, or 6-round championship. It's a 50-minute sprint. There's no tyre change at all. It's just a 50-minute sprint to the finish. And judging by the times we have seen, we are expecting around, I'd be tempted to say, around about 32 laps or somewhere along those lines. It could be a lap or two more. So we're less than 2 minutes away from the start. And as far as the championship is concerned, it was Checo that came out on top last week. I do correct myself. Dancy came home in second, and Jazz, despite spinning at turn 1 on the opening lap, came back to finish in third place at the Caquetso with Popcorn. Today's man on the front row is alongside Jazz. He is in fifth with 30 points. It's Bass 6th on 26, Fireblade 7th on 22, Defiant 8th on 18, Gary 9th on 16, and Clay running out the top 10 with 14 points. So some information on some drivers whilst we are waiting for the start. Bass, who is sitting in P6 on the grid. He's new to the group, the LNR that is, so he's just trying to set his mark. Jazz, who is on pole, he's one of the fastest GT sports drivers and is part of the Deadman Racing Elite team. And he's also transitioned into Assetto Corsa and Competizione. And he's looking to make a mark, always a favourite for a top 3. Well, judging by his performance last week, he could go 2 positions better today and could come out on top here in Brands.
30 seconds.
Now Dave, who is in P7, is a mid-pack racer who recently has found more speed and started to challenge at the sharp end of the grid.
20 seconds.
He's made the move to PC, but still comes back to console for the love of racing with great guys. One of the driver you could go wheel to wheel with, and
10 seconds.
He'll know not to put you into the wall. So we're just waiting for the drivers to make their start on the formation lap. Away they go then. Jazz leading the field off. So just looking at a few more drivers. So Checo, who won last week and started in 4th today. Took his first podium after penalties that turned into his first win within the LNR group. He always complains about his ex stealing his heart, and we have a running joke that she took his heart but gave him back his speed. We are keen to see Mr. Backmarker, as known as Checo, proceed and fight this season's podium spots. Well, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he ends up on the podium again today, because he has shown some strong pace in qualifying. I'm just looking at the gap actually between the guys at the on the front 2 rows or something. Just under 4/10 was the difference between those. We'll run a few more before we go racing. Well, Gary, otherwise known as Stalin, is always up for a battle. He might not be the fastest, but slow and steady sometimes brings you the best results. I couldn't agree more. Gary is probably the most consistent driver in the field. He podiumed with his teammate in the previous team versus team series, and we upgraded his name, Ty the Snailen. So, Popcorn, otherwise known as Neil, Popcorn is always a top 5 contender. On the day, if he has the setup in order, there is no stopping this guy. A smooth, crisp, I should say. So, Rizzler, who's starting 14th. He's new to the community, and we are waiting to see how he slots into place. Let's see how he gets on. He did finish. Just looking at his finish of last week, he came home in 11th place, which is respectable. And Dancy, who's always seen as one of the top drivers, he does somehow always get bad luck. Like the last race, his win was taken away due to the Turn 1 incident and took 2nd place. We know when Dancy's around, a fight will be hand, and with his trusty teammate joining, he should bring more speed. More on those another time. We're ready to go for the start of this 50-minute race here in Brands Hatch. No pit stop involved. It's just lights out to the finish. Jazz on pole ahead of Popcorn. It's Dancy and Checo on row 2. Then it's Clay and Bass on row 3. Dave and McSandy making up 7th and 8th. Gary and Ram running at the top 10. Fireblade and Armian on row 6, followed by Defiant and Rizzler, with Zombie Dom rounding off the 15 drivers starting today's race. We are ready to go then. The field are in rows of 2, and once Jazz crosses over the line, we are racing here at Brands Hatch.
Green light. Go, go, go.
We're ready to go then. Jazz leads the field, and he's got Popcorn on the outside as they come towards Paddock Hill Bend, and Jazz keeps his nose in front. Did catch the curb a little bit on the inside, but he maintains his momentum as they come towards the right-hander of Druids. Popcorn holding his 2nd place ahead of Dancy. And then we've got Checo and Clay. I think Clay may have got in front of him or was dropped back. So Checo is seemingly still in 4th place. But I think Dave has got to a great start actually there in the Bentley. So Dave up from 7th to 4th. And a brilliant first lap. And it seems that the field have got through the first sequence of corners without an incident so far. Jazz continuing to lead ahead of Popcorn. Dancy's in 3rd place, followed by Dave and Checo. And Bass is in 6th position, followed by McSandy in the Ferrari. Gary, Ram and Rizzler are next behind. Clay has made a really terrible start. I think was on the 3rd row at the beginning. He started 5th and is now down to 11th place, so he's got a lot of work to do from there. But Jazz continuing to head out in front. Just changed the camera settings so we've got a better angle. As he makes his way through the left-hander before he approaches the right-hander that takes us back onto the start, finish straight, place on a kink. It's a legendary circuit, is Brands Hatch. So lap 1 done. There's Popcorn in second place. Dancy is in third. Dave has got in front of Checo as well. So Checo down to 5th position. And Bass is thinking about a move as they come towards Druids. So these GT3 cars are very, very quick round here, it has to be said. Despite it being wet conditions, the conditions will stay wet throughout this one. It was planned to be wet from when the season began. And there is Bass running wide there. I think McSundy's going to get a good run in him as they come towards Surtees. McSundy on the inside. Bass just shutting the door on him at the last moment, left him enough space. And now Gary is looking to get in on the act and take advantage, can't quite do so. Rizzler's struggling at the moment in these conditions. He's running in 10th ahead of Clay. And then Fireblade ahead of Armian, being chased by Defiant and Zombidom. There's a long way to go yet. A lot can change, of course. So Dave running in 4th place. Checo 5th ahead of Bass, and it's McSundy and Gary. Ram and Rizzler are next in the top 10. And Clay will be looking to make up for lost time. And Jazz ends lap 2. 1.4 seconds in front. Dancy less than 1.3 seconds adrift of the Aston Martin ahead. So the field are over the line starting their 3rd lap. And so far so good there for the Ferrari of Jazz, who is aiming to be the championship leader by the end of this, and as it stands he will be doing so. So there's Jazz making his way through Hawthorne. And then the next right-hander will be Westfield. And then down through Dingledell. There's a right-hander there before he approaches the left of Sterling's. And now he's coming onto this back straight of Clearways, and there's a Clark curve, which he'll be heading through. So down the Brabham Straight, it's known as. Named, of course, after the 3-time Formula 1 world champion, the late Sir Jack Brabham. Won both of his, well, 2 of his 3 world championships with Cooper in 1959 and 60. And won the last of his 3 world championships in 1966 under his burgeoning team. Brabham, of course, would go on to claim a few more championships as a constructor in Formula 1. 2 of which with the Brazilian talent that is Nelson Piquet in 1981 and 83. So Jazz's lead is 1.2 seconds, so he's managing the gap fine at the moment. So he just needs to keep his car on the black stuff and not run too far out wide or take too much curve. There's no unnecessary risks needing to be taken. And of course, Brands Hatch last hosted a Formula 1 race back in 1986. Nigel Mansell won that day. And given the terrible events of what happened in France earlier in the season for Sir Frank Williams, with him being paralysed following a car accident that saw him have to sit on the sidelines and watching his beloved Williams cars on television, when Nigel Mansell won the British Grand Prix in Brands Hatch in 1986. Sir Frank Williams' wife came onto the podium to collect the Constructors' Trophy, and that was very, very touching that day. And Jazz's lead has just come down to under 8:10, so Popcorn beginning to really, really close in on him here, as we are now 7 minutes into this race, and we're on lap 5. So I've only mentioned there's no pit stops involved, it's just a 50-minute sprint to the flag. And this will really display the driver's talent in these conditions. And Clay have just realised he's got past Ram for 9th place. They also got past Rizzle as well, so Clay making up for lost time. He's got plenty of time to make up on Gary's, 3 seconds up the road from him. And another battle going on is between Defiant and Zombie-Dom. Fireblade's dropped back from those two, so he's dropped down to 15th and last place. And just so that you know, all the finishers will receive points. 60 points for a win, 50 for second, 42 for third, 36 for fourth, and it's all the way down to 20th who get 1 point. But we've only got 15 drivers involved, so should all 15 drivers finish, the 15th place finish would get 6 championship points. And of course, Brands Hatch has been hosting a lot of motor racing, whether it's club car racing or British touring cars. Not to mention A1GP, yes, cannot forget that. Brands Hatch was the first location to host a round of A1GP back in 2005 in its inaugural season. The championship didn't last though, and it lasted 4 years before the championship went into liquidation. There were brilliant cars back then. I saw a lot of brilliant talent racing in that, the likes of Robbie Kerr, Nico Hulkenberg, Jeroen Bleekelmolen, Nicolas Lapierre, all of those that competed. As the drivers come through, juries, the leaders they are. Popcorn now a second behind Popcorn second behind Jazz, I would say. Jazz still in the lead at the moment. Dancy dropping back a little bit now in the Bentley ahead of Dave, who's closing in on him actually. So we've got 2 fights going on at the front, one for the lead and one for the final podium position. So other championships that Brands Hatch have been hosting, including Super League Formula, F2, not the Formula 2 of today, but there was a separate F2 series to what was then the GP2 series, part of the support bill for Formula 1, but the Formula 2 of what it was, competed in Brands Hatch from 2009 to 2012. You've got DTM, they've also raced the British F3 and the W Series. Now the W Series, if you remember, Brands Hatch hosted the season finale in 2019. Jamie Chadwick was crowned champion that day, while Alice Powell won the race. So it was quite a good day for British motorsport on that particular occasion. And British touring cars, as I mentioned, British F4 as well. Yeah, plenty of championships have competed here at Brands. Most particularly famous for British touring cars. It's a lovely venue for it. And I'll tell you something as well, the had the Formula Ford Festival, which celebrated its 50th anniversary last year. And the racing it produced, particularly the final heat. And is that someone running wide there? Just looking to see who that was. Is that the race leader? It's Jazz. Jazz went wide there on the exit of the Graham Hill Bend, and he's gone off the track, and he's handed the lead to Popcorn. And he's fallen into the clutches of Dancy and Dave. So Jazz going off the track, and he's lost the position to Popcorn. And it's paid off for Popcorn because he piled on the pressure of the Ferrari and he's managed to nip past into the lead. So Popcorn takes the lead here in Brands Hatch. Jazz now fighting to keep hold of second place ahead of Dancy and Dave. And just seen Checo lose time as well. He's fallen down to 8th place. So Checo really losing ground. That's handed 6th place to McSandy and 7th to Clay. So Jazz running in P2. Ahead of Dancy. He's just managed to stay in front today. So Jazz just needs to get back into a rhythm now and start closing in on Popcorn. There's plenty of time to go yet in this race, 37 minutes. And then when the clock does reach 0, whatever lap the leader is on, they are on their last lap. And going back to what I was saying about Formula 1 racing here, it was the location where Alain Prost clinched the first of his 4 Drivers' Championships in 1985. Brands Hatch did host a race. It was the European Grand Prix that year, as there was a British Grand Prix already at Silverstone. It used to alternate the British Grand Prix between Silverstone and Brands Hatch back in those days in the 80s. And the reason why Brands Hatch is not hosting Formula 1 is because it's an FIA Grade 2 licensed circuit. And to be hosting a race in Formula 1, the circuit needs to be FIA Grade 1. And that's Dancy going for a spin there. He spins right in front of Dave. Dave just avoids him. So Dancy spins coming out of Dingledale. He waits for the number 31 of Bass to go through, and he's going to lose another position to McSandy. So Dancy spins, and he's dropped down the order into 6th place. So another driver having problems. And Dancy dropping it there. And he's nearly dropping it again on the exit of the Clark curve. So Dancy just needs to keep his composure intact. He's still in this race. He can still salvage something. He just can't get too carried away at this moment in time. So Popcorn is continuing to head the way. Jazz was 3.3 seconds behind at the end of at the beginning of the lap. It's now 3.7. At least he's pulling away from Dave. That's the main thing. So Jazz is not having to worry about him. Oh, is that Popcorn off? It is. Popcorn has pulled to the side. Now what's this all about? Has he had a problem? Whatever it is, he's lost the race lead. Very strange, he's just pulled to the side there. Did he hit the wall or something? I don't know what this is all about here from Popcorn. This is very, very strange. He's handed the lead to Jazz. I don't know why he's doing this, to be honest with you. We'll go on board with him and see what is the trouble with his car. Has he allowed the whole field to go by so that he can have a challenge? I think that's what he's done. Now, if that was me, I would not have done that. I don't particularly like to see a driver pull into the side and go to the back of the field like that. That's just not exactly racing to me. So Popcorn may have the book thrown at him for poor driving standards. And I think another driver went off track there. I think that was Zombidom who ran wide at Dingledale, and he's lost time as a result of it. And Popcorn has pulled to the side. Again, I don't know why he's done that, to be honest with you. I don't know if he's had trouble with his steering wheel or something. Either way, he's lost a bunch of time, and this could really spell the end of his race, to be honest with you. If he doesn't move, the car will be moved out of the way. So Jez's lead over Davies, 3.5 seconds. Bass is in third, McSandy fourth. Then it's Dancy ahead of Clay, who's now up to sixth. And Popcorn still doesn't appear to be moving at the moment. And he needs to get a move on, really, does Popcorn. He's now down a lap on the leaders. And if there was a time for him to get going, it probably wasn't the best time, because he's now having to move out of the way of the field. He could have rejoined into the path of someone there. No, he's out of the race. So Popcorn out after that. After having a brief spell at the front, he's not going to be scoring points after all. So Popcorn's race is over. So Jersey's lead over Davies has come down to 2.9 seconds now. So Bass in third place. McSandy, who didn't compete last week, is running in a fine fourth. Could pick up some good points to make up for the absence of Monza. And just let you know of the rounds of which we're going to this season. After Brands, we go to Donington for a double race, so a double header. We've got a 30-minute race plus a 20-minute sprint, so I assume we're going to be having a pit stop for that 30 minutes, and for the 20-minute sprint it's just going to be lights to flag. And then we go to Alton Park the following week for two 20-minute sprints, and then Snetterton the week after for two 25 minutes of sprints, I believe, for that one, unless the person in charge of the league can inform me on that. The season finale will be at Imola for a 50-minute race that will include a fuel and tyre stop, or a fuel stop I should say. So we're going to be seeing some very quick cars for then, most certainly on one of the greatest circuits in the world that is steeped in history. Jez's lead is 3 seconds now, managing the gap fine. And Clay has just got past McSandy, who's run wide, so McSandy's lost the position to the McLaren. So Clay takes advantage, but he can't take advantage while he's spun at Surtees. So Clay has spun. You want to keep out of the wall, mate. Reverses the car, and he will rejoin with Rum approaching him. So Rum should get a run on him, but Clay has fallen back down to 8th place now. So Dancy is in 4th place behind Bass. So 20 minutes into this race now, and Jazz continuing to head out in front by 3 seconds. And going back to what I was saying earlier about the Formula Ford Festival being at Brands Hatch, the final heat of the day proved to be spellbinding. It was such brilliant racing. You should go have a look at it. It celebrated its 50th anniversary last year. And of course we'll be hosting its next event, probably at like late October, beginning of November, something like that. 2.5 seconds is the gap between Jazz and Dave, so Dave's really clawing back the time here. As the top two make their way through Westfield. And we just look to see what Bass is doing. He's still holding third place, although Dancy does seem to be quicker. He just needs to find a way to pass. His best chance will probably be on the Brabham Straight. He avoids using the curb. Bass is able to stay ahead. McSandy, who seems to have run wide there. I'm just going to get a better camera angle because it keeps heading away when it shouldn't do so. So McSandy holding 5th ahead of Checo. Well, Danzy gets a good drive out of there. He could even get a run on the Bentley ahead. I think Bass is going to hold position for now. Dancy will want to think about getting a run on him through Druids. Doesn't quite go for it from there, so he stays behind. Dave's gap to Jazz is now 2.4, so he's slowly but surely closing them behind. The gap is now 2.3. This is a great effort from Dave so far. No mistakes as far as we know. So Dancy in 4th. So 2 more drivers which will run through actually, who are running in 9th and 11th places. Armian and Ram are both gents are in their 2nd season with ACC, but still leering and getting to grips. They are big time soccer players, and we wait to see how they translate kicking a ball to moving a car around a track. Fireblade, who is currently running in 10th place now, he's made up a few positions actually since the last time we saw him. One of the oldest drivers by age, but the youngest by his efforts. If not for bad luck, Fireblade would have none. He's always up for a fight mid-pack, and when on occasion things go his way, he'll take a top 3 spot. Positive mental attitude is everything. If you enjoy it so much, there's every chance you can do well. And it looks like Dancy's finally got himself in front of Bass now. So Dancy in front of the number 31. And he's through into 3rd place. Bass nearly dropping it on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. He survives for now. And he'll have Mick Sandy right on his tail shortly. But Dancy can now think about going after the top 2. 12 seconds up the road they are now. That's how much time he's lost being stuck behind the Bentley. And whilst he's got past that Bentley, he's got another Bentley ahead of him. That is Dave.
We are halfway through. Keep it up.
So we're on lap 16 of this race. Jazz is coming around to complete that lap. And Dave, 2.3 seconds in sector 2. What is the gap now? It's 1.8. So he's able to take half a second out of Jazz's lead in the last sector alone. Now, how is Dancy getting on in terms of the pace? I still think he's around 12 seconds behind. Yes, he is. So Dancy just needs to really pull away from Bass and not having him in his mirrors. Oh, and Bass nearly drops it there through Paddock Hill Bend. He survives. Another driver we'll talk about is Clay, who's like Tom Cruise in Top Gun. We all know he is the best, and one of the fastest, but sometimes he just needs luck on his side. Well, he's had a few spins so far in this one. Currently running in 8th place. He's 8 seconds behind Gary. And the last driver we'll run through is Somidom. That is Dominic. A new addition from last season came in like a wrecking ball, dropping podiums like it was freebies. This man will need to be watched as one of the top drivers within our console side. So Dom, who finished towards the back last week, but at least he scored points, is currently running in P12 behind Armian. And Fireblade, who's in 10th, is going after Ram. So we're starting to see a few more battles on circuit now. And Dave's margin to Jazz is 1.7 seconds at the end of the last lap. Do keep your questions coming in, folks. If you've got anything you wish for me to answer, then do feel free to send them. So Jazz continuing to hold his 1.7 second lead, but it looks less than that now. As they go through sector 2, it's definitely less than that. It's just under 1.5 seconds. Danzi in 3rd, holding off Bass and McSandy giving chase. Checo's running in P6, ahead of Gary and Clay. Who's that? That's the number 25 of... Is that Popcorn has just come back out on track? It is. So Popcorn, who had his misdemeanor or something earlier on, seems to be clawing his way back into the action here. He probably just wants to get through as many cars as possible. Now, he's decided not to go past the Ferrari there, and I wonder what that is all about. I don't know whether he's just purposely just not deciding to go for it. The car seems to be running okay. He probably just doesn't want to be fighting with the field, but if he wants to be salvage anything, surely he needs to be passing these cars. The gap is 1.2 seconds now between the top two. And Sean's coming in saying, what do you miss? You haven't missed too much, to be honest with you, Sean, since you were last in touch. What you can see is that Dave has closed into Jazz. He's now 1 second behind. Look at that! And Jazz off the track! Through the polystyrene blocks, and surely he hit the wall as well to go with it. Dave into the lead of the race. Jazz must have caught a patch of standing water off the track, and he's lost the lead to the Bentley of Dave. At least he's still going. He's handed the advantage over to Dave, who's now in the race lead, but can Jazz fight back? He's done so. He's pulling away now from Bass and McSandy. So McSandy in 5th position. And Bass running wide there, trying to take a wider line. McSandy may get a run on him as they come into Druids. Oh, contact made between McSandy and Bass. Where's Bass? He's gone for a spin. And it's causing a bit of a traffic jam at the moment. They both get going again, but Checo's right behind. He should be taking advantage of these guys. He can't quite get through. So Bass keeps hold of 4th place for now, but Checo's closed right in on these two. So Jazz staying in touch. And Danzi is now 13 seconds behind. I doubt he's going to be fighting these two unless Dave and Jazz make mistakes of their own. Dave coming around to complete his 20th lap. We've got over 18 minutes remaining. I would say we are looking at around 12 more laps of this race. So we are looking at a 32 lap event. So next Sunday in 5th place, still ahead of Checo. Checo's dropped back a little bit now from these two. Lost over a second in the last sector actually, so it's got a lot of work to do from there. Fireblade got past Ram a few laps ago, so he's up into 9th place. The next man ahead of him is Clay. And there's Popcorn, who's behind Clay at the moment. Well, Popcorn is 5 laps behind Defiant, and I'm not sure if he's going to be classified, to be quite honest with you. If he is going to be classified, he needs to get by these guys and get back ahead of the leaders, but that'll be too much of an ask now. Well, Dave pulling away now from Jazz, actually, 1.4 seconds. He made a mistake, did Jazz, which is why Dave took the lead. So McSandy still going after Bass. And Jazz in 2nd position, 1.8 seconds off the Bentley ahead. Go back to the battle for 4th as Bass is trying to hold off McSandy ahead. We'll ride on board with McSandy as we look on board, as we watch Bass in front as they come out of Surtees and through Pilgrim's Drop, and then they come back down to the right hand of Westfields. Suddenly not able to get through on this occasion. You can see the amount of spray being picked up by the Bentley in front. And as they head towards Dingledell. Oh, that's the Bentley, very wide, and Bass is off. Bass is off the racetrack. He's the next to make a mistake coming out of Dingledell. And he's falling behind Checo as well, so Bass spinning off the track, and he's fallen down to 6th place. So a terrible mistake there by Bass. He lost it coming out of the right-hander of Dingledell. And he's lost 2 positions as a result of it. McSandy through into 4th place. Dancy, look as though he's going to be 2nd for 3rd today. Jazz now 3 seconds behind Dave as they come through Westfields. Just hoping he keeps it on the black stuff this time. If you know you're not going to win the race, at least don't throw away 2nd place. There's Dancy running in P3. McSandy ahead of Checo. Bass is ahead of Gary and Clay. Clay trying to get a run on the Aston Martin. Doesn't go through on this occasion. Gets a good run out of here. He may get a run of him maybe on the Brabham Straight. So Clay has got Popcorn behind him. Now will Popcorn decide to go through ahead of Clay? And then the field starts lap 24. And Dave very much on course for victory. Now last week Dave only managed a 14th place finish, and so he's going to be increasing his tally from 7 to 67. And as it stands with the field as it is, Jazz will move on to 92 points. Dancy will also move on to 92. Checo, who's running in 5th place, Claire only 30, so he'll be on 90 points. So the top 3 in the championship are going to be separated by 2 points. But there's no outright leader at the moment because Danzy and Jazz have got a 2nd and a 3rd place each. No wins to their name. And Jazz seems to have lost time. He's got damage to the machine. He's over 7 seconds behind. And I'm not sure what's happened to him. At least he stays in 2nd place, but he's lost time thanks to his mistake. And I think if I was him, I'd just make sure you bring the car home in 2nd, because you'll be tied at the top in the championship standings. You carry on. And he's running wider through 30. Just keep it on the tarmac. You don't need to be taking any unnecessary risks now. There's Checo ahead of Bass. Clay's still behind Gary. Oh, that's Bass going for another spin. So in a space of a few laps, Bass has had 2 spins, and this time he's spun after Graham Hill Bend. So he's down to 8th now. It's turning into a nightmare for him on circuit. And here's Dave with 10.5 minutes remaining. His lead will be significantly more now over Jazz. It was 8 seconds, I believe, in sector 2 or something. It's 7.9 now. But Dave won't need to worry about the gap. He just needs to keep his car on the circuit. Oh, and that's Danzy. He looks like he was going into the pits, but he dropped it coming out of Clark Bend. And surely McStanley's going to get a good run on him as they come towards Paddock Hill Bend. Now, can Danzy keep on to 3rd place? The answer is yes. So he cannot afford any more mistakes now, Danzy. If he makes one more, McStanley will be there to take advantage. In fact, McStanley's diving to the inside. Does he go through ahead of the Bentley to the inside into Druids? And McStanley takes it. McStanley up into 3rd place in the Ferrari. A brilliant, brilliant move. Thanks to Danzy's error on the exit Clark. McStanley is there to pick up the piece and say, thank you very much. I'll take that final podium spot off you. Now, what can Danzy do to respond to that? And Simon Don's got in front of Ram now, so Dom is up into 10th place, Ram down to 11th. He should remain there between now and the end of the race, as Armian is nearly 9 seconds behind. So Dave looking on course for victory. It's been a stellar performance from him. I was just looking to see where he qualified as well, actually, just to remind myself. 7th on the grid was Dave, which is fairly respectable in comparison to last week. And he's up there in P1. I don't think he's put a foot wrong all race, so if he does go on and win this, he deserves it. So Dancy, who's running in 4th place, what can he do to get back that final podium position? Well, now he's made that mistake, Jazz will be leading the championship at the end of this round. Dancy will be dropping to 3rd at the finish. Overall, I should say, not in this race. And Dave won't want to be, because it almost looked like he exceeded track limits there. He won't want to be doing that too many times, otherwise he'll be receiving a drive-through penalty. He does not want to be having that now. And so Dave is 5 laps away from the finish. And Jazz, the gap between him and the leader is 9.8. Sunday just pulling away a little bit now from Dancy. Checo in 5th. And there's Gary running wide there ahead of Clay. Bass is in 8th ahead of Fireblade. And Dom is now closing in on him. So we've got another battle on circuit in the closing minutes of this one. So Dave, keeping his car pointing in the right direction. He's coming up to a back marking now, that is Defiant. He's running in 14th. And Dave appears to have run wide a little bit there through the right-hander of Westfield. As he makes his way through Sterling's. You know, his victory is edging ever near now. So Dave, leaving the field for dead, really. The gap between McSunny's Dunsey is a second. Well, Dom still chasing Fireblade for 9th place. And that's Fireblade running wide, and Dom, I think, is going to take advantage. So Fireblade runs wide, and Dom takes 9th place off him. There's a nice manoeuvre there. Dave has lapped Defiant. The next one ahead of him is Rizzler. And I just hope the field have left themselves with enough fuel to get to the finish on. So Dave around to start his 30th lap, 29 laps done. Looking really, really good. Perhaps the wet conditions seem to suit him more than the dry. So Clay is determined to snatch 6th from Gary. And there's Dave. timing when to lap the Ferrari of Rizzler. He's going past him now as they exit Sterling's. No problem for Dave as a result of that. Two laps to go at the end of this. And I've just been told that Popcorn has a broken wheel, hence why he went off the circuit earlier on and then briefly retired. So Clay behind Gary as they approach Sterling's. This is going to go right all the way to the checker flag, isn't it, between these two. And Checo's closing in on Dante as well in the fight for 4th spot. And we've also got another battle. Ram trying to hold off Armian in the fight for 11th. Now they need to be careful here because Dave is just coming through Westfields now in the race lead. So the last thing Ram and Armian want to be doing is tripping up over each other. Now if you remember back in Monza last week, Ram didn't really stay out of the way of the leaders well enough. Came together with I'm just trying to remember who it was. I know it was Kuketsu, which he ran into rejoined into the path of. They took one of the cars off the circuit after the first part of Lesmo. It might have been Fluffy Buff or someone.
The leader is on the final lap. Give it a final push.
So we're on to the last lap then, and Dave goes off the track through the gravel trap. He gets back on. The last thing he wants is a mistake on this last tour. There was a near scare there for the leader. Dave off the circuit. And it looks like McSandy's into the pits. Now, what's this all about? He was running in 3rd place. Has he left it too light? Did he put enough fuel in the car, maybe? Answers on the postcard, please. This is terrible luck for McSandy. Someone needs to fill me in on that. But McSandy's race has ended horribly. A podium finish gone for him. Well, there's your leader, Dave, on his final lap. He's about to come through and take picture. I think he came in for a short pit stop there, did McSandy, so he's back out on circuit. Perhaps he didn't put enough fuel in after all. But Dave is coming through now. Coming out of Sterling's. About to head through clearways. There's a back mark ahead of him who will probably get out of the way. Dave coming through the Clark curve onto the Brabham Straight for the last time. Dave is going to win in Brands Hatch. Dave takes it here at the Kent located circuit. A stunning performance from him. Hardly any mistakes made. Just over the line in 2nd place. And then Dante will be the final driver on the podium ahead of Checo. He's wheeled him in. Will be home in 3rd. Apologies for the brief glitch there. So Dante 3rd, Checo 4th, and it's Gary and Clate, who's just gone off the circuit actually, and Clate's lost a lot of time on this last lap. So Gary will be over the line in 5th. Clay will be safe, and Mick Sunday after that short pit stop will be 7th when 3rd could have so easily have been his. So Mick Sunday over the line ahead of Bass. He'll be disappointed with his performance tonight. Dom will be happy with his effort. I think he's run out of fuel by the looks of things. And I think Fireblade is going to take the position off him. So Fireblade, is he out of fuel as well? No, he gets over the line in 9th place, and Dom will drop to 10th as a result of that. I'm not sure why he slowed down there, Dom. Didn't need to do that at all. Armian will be the last driver home on the lead lap in 11th place. Rizzle will be 12th, Ram 13th, Divine 14th, and Popcorn, I don't think he'll be classified because he was so many laps behind after his earlier error. So Dave wins, had a Jazz in 2nd place, and it's Dancy in 3rd, Checo 4th, and it's Gary and Clay running up the top 6. McSandy, a very, very disappointing 7th place. A podium should have been his. Bass 8th, Fireblade 9th, and Dom 10th. Armin was 11th, followed by Rizzler. Ram was 13th, head of Defiant, and Popcorn, I think it'll be an NC next to his name rather than 15th position. That's all for today. Thank you very much for joining us. The next round of the championship will be, if I remember rightly, it'll be at Donington in a week's time. Just to let you know what the weekend format will be. I believe it is a 50-minute event, unless it is a double bill. It may be a double bill or something. But before I go on to that, we'll look at the championship standings. Day's victory moves him on to 67 points. He moves up to, I believe, 4th place now in the driver's standings. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's Jazz who leads the championship, all tied on points with Danzy now. And with Checo coming home in 4th place. Checo, who won last week in Monza. I'm struggling to get the championship standings on my screen at the moment. But it's very, very close at the top. And we are set for a brilliant season here in the LNR. Thank you very much for joining us. Do make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And we'll look to do it all again here at Donington. I'm Tom Cans. And I'll speak to you again soon when the logistical nightmare returns.